The dream of PC graphics in the comfort of your living room with a controller has been a constant refrain for aging gamers. Have we reached the point where one can achieve the benefits of a top-tier PC with the convenience of a console? Would I still be mired in driver updates, shader stutter, endless Windows configuration, and a huge box stuck in my living room? I think the answer is yes, but I'm curious about your thoughts, Alex.
I mean, well, when I complain as a power user about, so shader compilation stutter is actually an endemic issue on PC, which is why I make such a big deal about it. But the other Windows things that the user mentions, I don't think there is such a big deal. Like, I usually, when I use the Ryzen 5 3600 PC, or even the it used to be 1200, 7800 X3D PC, they're just like kept in like a very default state, and they are really plug and play. They are very easy to use. Obviously with my workstation PC, it's a lot less that because I'm doing a lot more with it. Mm-hmm. But I think for most casual users, actually, I don't think a lot of casual users even update their drivers often, and they play games still, and they only update them when there's an issue. So I don't think it's not like Windows 98, or, it's not like any of these things. I don't think that's such a big issue, but I don't think the next box or whatever, I don't think there's going to be a bridging of these PCs and Xboxes, what my hope is, but I think they're going to try and take away some of the aspects that make PC gaming a little bit more a little bit more cumbersome if they're going to be doing this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oliver, it occurs to me that if they're solving this problem on a handheld, and the idea is that your Legion Go or ROG Ally becomes an Xbox, then that work would carry through to any PC, right?
I'd certainly hope so. That certainly seems like the most likely scenario, especially when these devices, they don't have touchpads, but they do have touch screens. So that helps you out a lot when you have these edge cases. And I'm always thinking about the edge cases with Windows, because it might be true that you have a seamless experience 90% of the way there, and then that remaining 10% involves some Windows cruft, some older titles. And now all of a sudden we're back to like, okay, how do I navigate this thing with an Xbox Series pad? It's not going to work out very well. So I think that's my main concern. And personally, like, I do play a lot of PC games on the couch. I don't really play as much in a desk setup. And that's the main thing that I'm annoyed by. You still have to deal with the PC's input problems. I don't mind driver updates as much. I don't mind, like, obviously shader comp is just something that's inherent to the platform at this point. It's more just like the input issues. And I do have a hybrid keyboard touchpad, little wireless keyboard thing that I use. Those are a little clunky, but they do help you in these edge cases. Steam's big picture mode does help a lot as well. But again, you just run into like these edge cases. It could be like 5% of the time you have to use cursor input, or 5% of the time you need keyboard input. But when you do need it, you kind of need all of a sudden to swap this whole different computing paradigm. And unfortunately, I don't really have a whole lot of confidence in Microsoft's ability to ferret out all of those edge cases. I think maybe the smarter thing would just be to have some hardware accommodation or some very clever software accommodation for the edge cases than trying to steer around all of them, because I think you're always going to run into them to some degree, and that's my concern, right? At the moment, that's certainly the case.
Yeah, like, when you have a GPU upgrade, you get a prompt from the software which kind of requires response from a mouse.
Yeah.
So you do need something like, I mean, you could map the mouse controls to like the right analog stick.
That's so bad.
Which is
I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, I think there's got to be another way. Maybe it's a new controller type. Maybe like the Steam controller had the touchpads.
Deck has it, of course.
Deck has those two. Those are reasonable. I think those are actually reasonable mouse, like, flicking cursor things. Another thing that I just thought about regarding this question is that there's nothing preventing Microsoft from coming out with a new version of Windows that is more custom tailored toward gaming. Right. That perhaps does not have full Windows. Maybe it offers them like as kind of like how Steam does. Steam big picture mode. Steam Deck has, where you can go out to the Linux desktop. Maybe there is actually a way for Microsoft to do that, and it could actually become installable not just to whatever their future Xbox is, but it could also be installable to any PC, like what Rich just said, which would be an interesting feature indeed. I think I would probably, for a workstation PC, I would use like a full Windows, but I wouldn't really have any problem for like a PC that is only used for gaming to have a more limited or different OS depending upon how I use it. So, yeah.
I think Oliver's right. There's edge cases, and then I think, you should be able to come up with solutions that address the majority of those ones. Stuff like Windows updates, stuff like graphics card driver updates. I mean, all of that sort of stuff is taken care of on a console through a system software update that well, it's not good for a PC, but that actually stops you using the console until you get the update done.
Yeah, on a PC that'd be unfathomable. I mean,
yes.
It would be awful.
Yeah. I'd almost think like sort of like a touch, a tab kind of interface, like cycling through the various options. Press A to accept, press B to decline. Like you could probably go a pretty far ways just with that kind of like extra software layer on top of Windows. That could maybe get you through a lot of those edge cases, and then maybe for the remainder, you would have to click the thumbsticks in and use the touchpad, or use the thumbstick as a cursor, or something really clunky, horribly clunky. But maybe they could get rid of most of those issues, and it wouldn't be such a concern.
Yeah, so, I mean, there are many refrains from aging gamers, as White Boy Slim puts it. One of his ones is a huge box stuck in my living room. I mean, that is basically the nature of the beast in terms of a components-based design, but you can make smaller console-like PCs.
Yeah.
You just have to be more cognizant of the fact that you're probably not going to be putting a 4090 in there.
Exactly. And I think there's also, Microsoft has enough leeway, in terms of ATX and things like that. They could pioneer another motherboard standard. Microsoft has the power to do that.
Right.
They could also, they really do have the power to do that. And I could imagine a next, like if there's this breakout into a PC like Xbox, that it would have maybe another motherboard standard, or maybe multiple, because there could be different configurations of these things, like small Xboxes and big Xboxes. I think there's a lot that could be done here just because Microsoft is so big and powerful and has a lot of money. It's just a matter of how much money will they get out of this in return.